Hello folks and welcome to my channel. If you haven't subscribed, please do it now and hit the bell icon to get instant updates. For today's project, I'll be showing you how to make these crochet heart coasters using a waistcoat stitch. So let's get started. I'll be using a 6mm crochet hook and two different colored yarns, and these are both double knit. So starting with a gray yarn, make a slip knot and secure it on your hook. Now make a chain of 13. Once your chain is ready, go into the second chain from your hook and make a single crochet. Make a single crochet in each chain, so you will have a total of 12 single crochets. So once you're at the end of the row, remove your hook from the loop and we're going to place a stitch marker in this loop. Now pull it so that the loop is minimal and just a small part is outside, so we don't want a very big loop. Now starting your next row, insert the hook under both loops of the first stitch and bring the yarn from the back of your work onto your hook. Make sure that the yarn is sitting comfortably nice on your work and it's not too loose, that it is hanging from one side, or it is too tight that your work curls up. So make sure that the yarn is sitting comfortably on the back side of your work. Then hold your yarn and pull it through the first stitch under both loops. Chain 1, and now we'll be working in this V stitch over here. So instead of going under both loops in a regular stitch, for this waistcoat stitch we'll be working in the center of these V stitches. In this row these stitches are a little hard to see, but you will see in the next row that these V stitches are quite visible. So insert your hook in the center of the V stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through both loops. So here we have completed our first waistcoat stitch. So let's make another one. Check out the V in the next space. Go into the center of this V stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. And remember to keep that strand close to your work so that you weave it in while you work on this row. Now continue making a waistcoat stitch for the entire row until you reach the last stitch. So once your row is complete, over here I'm going to pull the stitch marker a bit so that the loop is visible and just straighten out your work. So remove the stitch marker, insert the hook on your regular loop and then insert this loop onto your hook. So now you have two loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through both loops. This is sort of a single crochet, but it's still not visible underneath. Now I'm going to place the stitch marker back in that loop. Now starting our next row, again insert the hook under both loops of your first stitch and place the yarn from the back of your work onto your hook so that the yarn is comfortably sitting on your work. Pull it through and chain 1. Now over here you can see the stitches quite visible, the V stitches. We are going to repeat row 1 over here, making one waistcoat stitch in each stitch. So insert your hook in the center of that V stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. You have two loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through both loops. Go into the next stitch and make your waistcoat stitch. Complete the entire row and I'll see you at the end of the row. Once you reach the end of the row, remove your stitch marker and insert that loop onto your hook. Yarn over and pull through both loops on your hook. Remove your hook and then place the stitch marker into that loop. Now starting a next row in the very same way, insert the hook under both loops of your first stitch. Bring the yarn from the back of your work and place it on your hook, pull it through and chain 1. Insert the hook in the center of the V-stitch. Yarn over, pull up a loop. You have 2 loops, yarn over, pull through both. So this is your waistcoat stitch. We will make 4 waistcoat stitches, and on the 5th one we're going to change the color. This is the 4th stitch, and now for the 5th stitch, when you have 2 loops on your hook, we're going to drop the gray yarn at the back, and I'm going to place a different colored yarn onto my hook. So I'm using a shade of blue over here. So place this on your hook and pull it through both loops on your hook. Now keep all the yarns close to your work at the back. Insert the hook in the next V-stitch, yarn over and pull up the blue yarn. So you have 2 loops on your hook, drop the blue yarn, pick up the gray yarn from the back and complete the stitch. Now the blue yarn we're not carrying forward in our work, so we're just going to drop the yarn over here and carry on with our gray yarn, and we're keeping that loop of the gray yarn from the back that we brought in at the end of the row so that we can hide it while we work. At the end of the row, again remove the stitch marker and make your last stitch. Place the stitch marker on that loop. Now insert the hook in the first stitch. Bring the yarn from the back and place it on your hook. Pull it through and chain 1. Now make your waistcoat stitch. So over here we're going to be making 3 waistcoat stitches. So this is your first, second, and the third one. Now in the 4th one you're going to change color. So when you have 2 loops on the hook, drop the gray yarn, pick up the blue yarn from the back, and don't pull it too tight. Pull it loose enough so that the strand is coming up. Now keeping close all the strands, the blue and the gray strand, make the next waistcoat stitch. So we'll be hiding that blue strand from the back and then work our way. So make 3 waistcoat stitches with your blue yarn, and on the 3rd one we're going to drop the blue yarn, pick up the gray yarn from the back and complete the stitch. Now do the remaining with the gray stitches, and we're not tagging along the blue yarn. And at the back you can see that we have been hiding all our working strands, and there are no visible loose strands over here. Starting our next row, insert the hook in the first stitch and bring the yarn from the back. Place it on your hook and pull it through. Chain 1 and make your first waistcoat stitch. So going into the center of that V stitch, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop. Over here we're going to make 3 waistcoat stitches, and on the 3rd waistcoat stitch we're going to change the color. So accidentally I completed this stitch over here, so I'm just going to undo it. When I have 2 loops on my hook, I'm going to drop the gray yarn, pick up the blue yarn, and you can see the blue yarn is coming a long way over here. But don't pull it too tight. Keep that yarn comfortably sitting at the back, keeping the gray yarn and the blue yarn at the back over here. Make your next waistcoat stitch. So with the blue yarn we're making 5 waistcoat stitches. This is the 3rd one. Then the 4th one. And the 5th one. When you have 2 loops, drop the blue yarn, pick up the gray yarn from the back and complete the stitch. Now complete the remaining stitches with the gray yarn, and we're not carrying along the blue yarn. Now starting the next row, insert your hook in the first stitch, bring the yarn from the back and place it on your hook, making sure that the yarn is sitting comfortably at the back of the work. Pull it through the first stitch and chain 1. Now make your first waistcoat stitch using the gray yarn. Make the second waistcoat stitch but don't complete it. When you have 2 loops on the hook, drop the gray yarn, pick up the blue yarn from the back. The blue yarn is coming a long way, so make sure you're not tugging it too tight. Now keeping all the loops at the back, including the gray yarn, which we will carry along, make your next waistcoat stitch. Now using the blue yarn, we are making our waistcoat stitches. Make 7 waistcoat stitches with the blue yarn, and on the 7th one we're going to switch back to our gray yarn. For my next row, I'll be repeating this row again, so I'll come back after I finish my next row. So here I've completed the repeat row, and now starting the next row, we're going to make our waistcoat stitch. So make 3 waistcoat stitches. This is your first one, second, and now the third one we're going to change color. So pick up the blue yarn from the back, pull it through. Now the blue yarn is coming a long way, so make sure you keep it close to your work. Make 2 stitches with the blue yarn, and on the second stitch change to gray again. So pick up the gray yarn from the back, and now we'll be carrying the blue yarn over here, so keep it close to your work. Finish the stitch. Now with the gray yarn, make the next stitch but don't complete it. When you have 2 loops on the hook, switch to blue again. So drop the gray yarn, pick up the blue one, and make 2 stitches with the blue yarn, and on the second stitch we're going to change to gray and complete the row with the gray yarn. Over here the work for the gray yarn is done, so I'm going to cut off the yarn over here. You can weave in the ends using a needle, and for the remaining rows I'll be doing 3 gray rows as I started with the gray over here. So I'll just complete the rows and come back. Here I finished the 3 rows, and now chain 1 and cut off your extra yarn. Pull it through, and with the help of your needle, weave in the ends. Snip off the extra bits, and your coaster is ready. The coaster is a bit fiddly and the sides do turn in, so you might try blocking it for a sturdy look. I personally love this pattern and the look of the stitches over here. It gives a very nice knit look. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and thanks for watching.